You're watching News at Prime. Let's get into another important discussion now. The United Democratic Movement is calling for an investigation into unfounded claims of genocide and persecution against white South Africans. The party is warning that these claims, if they continue, they are going to be a problem for the country if they continue circulating unchecked, which could manipulate or have political consequences against the country. Let's speak now to UDM leader Bantu Holomisa, who joins us via the Zoom platform. General, good evening to you, and thank you very much for your time. I know that you have pressure on time, so I'm going to go straight into it. Your statement quite clear that such claims cannot be left unchecked because in the past we have seen similar issues, or should we say unfounded claims, causing a war or wars that have amounted to untold human suffering. And you are using the example of the Iraq war, the weapons of mass destruction. Try and link the two for us as to how dangerous this kind of information can be for a country.
Thank you, Polly, and thank you to our viewers. Firstly, I think we should thank President Cyril Ramaphosa and President Trump for having met, and also that there is going to be a number of committees established to address certain problems, including the trade and so on and so on. But how I wish that there should be a specific committee manned by the two countries, which will be addressing the issue of this serious allegation of genocide. Where was this genocide? Who misled the whole world that there was a genocide by going to USA and tell the USA that there is this? Was this emanating from South Africans, or was it a sponsored propaganda? So some of us, we have experienced this. I still remember when F.W. de Klerk accused Transkei of having military bases for PAC's APLA. And that meeting, that accusation culminated in our meeting in Cape Town at Tenes. And then Pickwater was asked to explain this issue of the bases. And Pickwater then referred us to newspaper clippings. And then I said, hold on. We want hard intelligence. News clippings are not intelligence. And then I immediately asked the generals from South Africa in front of de Klerk. And then they said, no, they don't have evidence. And then F.W. de Klerk pulled out his cigarette from his pocket and he started to smoke. It was fashionable those days to smoke in an office. So Pickwater followed, and then that was the end. So what I'm trying to say, in the case of South Africa and USA, we have to satisfy ourselves that this is not a work of a third force. We end up looking at USA as our enemies and USA looking at us as their enemy. So we have to investigate, get to the bottom of this. What the president of USA showed us, it was just a propaganda, because you can't talk about a document and then you didn't share with the person you are engaging. So we are not going to be take that threat or that propaganda lightly, because we have seen it in the past, where they said there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. What happened later? People died. So we want to make sure that here in South Africa, There is no third force who think that is going to destabilize South Africa. We are proud about this country, and we're not going to be dictated to by anybody.
Let me latch on to the word that you keep repeating, the worries about a third force, because there's something telling about your statement right towards the end. If I can just quote it for the viewers. You say, and I quote, "There is a possibility that these genocide claims are a smokescreen for deeper, undisclosed geopolitical motives." Explain that in plain language. What do you mean?
Plain language, it could be that we are being used as a springboard, or people want to use South Africa to apply their nefarious objectives. Remember that South Africa is in a strategic position. We are in the Cape. A lot of fleet of ships these days are passing through Cape, because in the Gulf area, they can no longer move freely because they are being bombed that side. So we have to look objectively and broadly and analyze the situation as to whether this is not related to want to use South Africa as a center where they can control whatever.
Now, with these nefarious motives in mind, you are calling for a joint investigative committee by both governments. Do you think America would be amenable to that if they harbor these nefarious motives you speak of?
Unfortunately, I didn't accuse them that they are harboring that. But anyone who is involved in a third force can do that. So, but whoever feels that he can wear the cap, let that cap fit him. So, but for now, what we should be looking at, let us piggyback on the relationship established by President Cyril Ramaphosa and President Trump, and by allowing that there be an inquiry so that they don't appear on anyone like a fool, or that another one has tried to use another one and so on. But we need to have facts on the ground. If they want to send their FBIs, so be it. They will be working with our security forces this side and investigate who said there is genocide in South Africa, because the South African government says there's no such. Who misled Trump? Once that inquiry is finished, then we will know. And we will know that the people who are going to work with, whether it's by National Commission or bilaterally, at least the confidence on both sides will be restored.
Let me conclude the conversation on this note. The president of South Africa's agenda going to Washington was to, quote unquote, reset the relations. Do you think that that has been achieved? If you believe so, what signals are there?
Well, I think we must trust the delegation which went to USA. They said the relationships between the two countries are beginning to gel together. And even President Cyril Ramaphosa had said there have been some agreement in certain areas, including the issues related to trade or in the economy in general. So, but it's still too early. Let them come back and unpack the whole deal, and then be able to take questions in Parliament or in the media. But so far, I think we are on the right track.
General Bantu Holomisa, thank you very much for your time speaking in his capacity as leader of the United Democratic Movement.